Hello and welcome to the Authentic Uprising Show. I'm your host, Jill Simons. I am so excited to grow in the radical art of standing in what God says about you with you today. This show is a place where we pour into our concept of who we are, how we've been created with intention by God, and how we can live out of the freedom that He has for us more every single day. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Authentic Uprising Show and Podcast. And we are coming to you together live today for the very first time. I'm so excited that I have my guest sitting here with me. Maddie Starr is local here to Tulsa with us, and she and I are going to be talking today about our topic for the month, which is really that idea that we are not bound, that God is not bound by time the same way we think we're bound by time. So we're going to be talking about how it is not too late in your story, whatever it is you feel like you're waiting for. God still wants to write that story with you. So thank you so much for being here with me today, Maddie. So for those that don't know you, share a little bit about yourself, where you're at in life, things like that.
Yeah. Okay. So my name's Maddie Starr, born and raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Lived here for the majority of my life. I grew up in a Christian home, Christian school, Christian college, did ministry for a little while, and I coached and taught volleyball for the past 6-7 years and played on the collegiate level. And then recently I started my own social media business, doing content creation, and yeah, that's pretty much about me.
That's awesome. Yeah, and so that's how we originally connected, is because we were looking for people here locally to help us grow just our presence with the shop and stuff like that. And in getting to know Maddie, it's been so fun to get to see your faith and get to see how much that impacts what you do. And so when I talked to you about what topic really appealed to you to talk about, this is the one that really spoke to you. So I'd love to hear about how God has really taught you about His view for timing versus your view for timing throughout your story of your life.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm 28 years old, and when I was so I've grown up playing volleyball since the 7th grade. And when I started playing volleyball, I was doing softball, basketball, dance, clogging. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yes, I do. I love clogging. I grew up Irish dancing, so.
Yeah. I did it. I was a national champion clogger.
That's awesome.
Hilarious. So when I started playing volleyball in 7th grade, it was like, this is my sport. Like I was really good at it, and I was like, okay, this is it. I'm going to play volleyball in college. Like from then on, it was the goal. And so in 10th grade, I was helping coach the middle school team, and I helped this girl serve the ball over the net. And I was like, I saw the light in her eyes, and I was like, this is exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
So growing up, I've always been a helper and an empath. And I always just wanted to be a wife and a mom. And then since then, a volleyball coach and a teacher.
Yeah.
And so when I went into college, that's what I went for, was to teach and coach. And right out of college, I moved to California to do volleyball ministry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool that exists, first of all.
It's through FCA.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the volleyball hub of America and almost the world is right there in Orange County.
Okay.
So both USA indoor and outdoor teams practice there in Orange County. So we worked ministry with the coaches and the players, and then like the clubs in the area and the high schools. And I actually came to find out about it because I did an internship with them the year before my senior year. And they basically go and disciple you throughout the summer and train you for your season. So that was incredibly impacted my life. And I was like, I have to go back and do the same thing for others. So it was such a blessing. I will never, I don't know how to explain it, but it taught me how to do life with God and everything. Like, we even asked him to help us serve the ball over the net. Like the little things you're like, oh, he can't help me with that.
Mm-hmm.
No, like integrating him into every single part of our day. And asking him what he wants, where I even wanted to serve the ball, or where we were going to go today. Like, we just practiced all those like little things. Who do you want us to talk to? What color is your shirt? Like, things like that. Just asking the Holy Spirit for guidance and everything. So then after I left there, I moved back and I've coached and taught since then. And I finally, 2 years ago, 2019, I was a head coach for the first time. And around like December, I had gotten into a car accident. And my mentor at the time was like, in the spiritual world, it means like a vehicle crash in a dream is like ministry coming to an end. And she's like, I really feel like your coaching ministry is going to come to an end. And I was like, oh, that's funny. Like, that's pretty funny. That, because this is all I've ever wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make any sense. But like, it felt like, oh, maybe, like,
yeah,
maybe possibly, like, maybe once I get a husband, like, it'll work out and I won't have to coach and I can just do it on the side for fun. But I love, like, I thrive in the gym. Like, I love mentoring the girls and helping them learn how to hit the ball exactly in the right spot. Like, I love that so much and being around them. And I have always related to them more than I relate to adults. Like, I've always just been like connecting with the 14-year-olds. Like, I don't know. I get the TikToks. I get the things. Like, it just always has been, I've resonated.
Yeah.
Obviously, because I've been there, but I just have this childlike heart and faith. And so, anyways, in January, we were doing a 21-day fast and prayer. And I was like, I feel like I'm going to have to quit coaching here. Like, I just felt like I was going to have to quit coaching there.
Yeah.
And I told my mentor, I was like, I feel like this is what I have to do. And I got really sick at the time. So I was like, my immune system was very shot. And I got the flu while I was in like February. And my body was just like shutting down. My doctor was like, you're going to have to quit there altogether, like starting now. So right before I like went to quit, the pandemic hit.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I didn't have to quit. We just went home.
Okay.
And I didn't have to get paid I got paid for the rest of the year.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So it was like totally, in the strangest way, a total godsend that the pandemic happened. And I was able to rest because we were all like, my mom was like, you're not going anywhere.
Right.
Because I was immune compromised at the time. So she's like, you're not even going to risk that. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it was perfect timing.
Absolutely.
So right before the pandemic hit, though, we were at a worship night, and I heard the Lord like very strongly, like, you're done coaching volleyball. And I was like, bro, I don't believe you. That is ridiculous. I can't believe you didn't ask me that. Like, that's pretty stupid. So I had a little tantrum, and I was just like, I don't think you're right. I'm not even a wife yet. No one's dating me. I have to be there right now. And so if I'm not going to be a wife and a mom, and I'm not going to be a volleyball coach, who even am I? And so I argued with him. I sat on the ground. I'm not kidding. Like, sat on the ground, had a full tantrum in the middle of a worship set. Like, I'm on the floor. So I'm in front of everyone, just like, just arguing with him, just pissed off.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, peace sets in, and you're just like, okay, you're right. Like, I'm your servant. Here I am, send me. Like, I trust you. I've been here in this position where I'm like, I don't know where you're going to take me. And you've always brought me from glory to glory. So I sat there and I was like, okay. And man, there's been so many memories in my life where I've been at this point where I was like, I don't know how you're going to get me out of this, but okay, I trust you.
Yeah.
And that's probably like the most recent moment where I was like, all right, my arms are open.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing and ready. I trust you. So I didn't work. I was just at home resting most of the summer. I had gotten a boyfriend that summer, so I was like, oh, well, maybe this is happening. Like, maybe he'll just set me up for a boyfriend, you know, and to be a wife. I don't know. And then we broke up that summer too. And so I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was at one of my local coffee shops, and one of my friends, May, was like, do you need a job? I'm like, yeah, I really do. So I went and worked for her for a little while. And I have been working there for the past year and a half. And during that time of just like making money with her, I have created this community that is totally the Lord. I don't even know how to explain how He's just like knitted us all together.
Yeah.
My friend Jessie and I started going to a church here in town, a young adults church, and I like saw a friend from 10 years ago at the coffee shop, and I was like, oh my gosh, you should come. And one of my guy friends, his friend that's a girl, I was like, oh my gosh, you should come with me. And then it's just all integrated to now we're all in a small group together, and it's all people that are my age for the most part and single, which is incredible because we're all walking this same stage of life. So we're like family. It's just totally like the Lord. They're for me. They challenge me. It's been so great. So about it's almost been 6 months now. We were all playing what is it called? We're Not Really Strangers. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so it's a card game, but it's a question game.
Okay.
So you have 3 levels. The first level is like surface. And also I'm just a deep person, so anything surface in friendships, I'm like, oh, I'm out. Like, we're just gonna touch and go every now and then. Like, I want the grit. Yeah. So this game is all like, I'm like, ooh, I get to learn about you. It's so exciting. So the first level, we all go around and like answer a surface level question. Yeah. And then you ask, the second level is a little deeper. And the third level is like super deep. So I got the question, what do you like most about me? Like, what can I do really well? And my friend Jessie was like, you just capture a moment so well. Like, I never know that you're taking the video. Like, it's just like, you get it. You know exactly how to take it and make us feel what we're all feeling in that moment. And kind of backtrack, like, I've always wanted to be an influencer in the Christian world, but also just like in the Tulsa world, because I've been here, raised, and I just like have such a passion for Tulsa. And everyone, like, since Facebook and Xanga and MySpace has been around, I've been like, guys, Facebook is gonna be so cool. Like, when it started, I was like, guys, Facebook's gonna be so cool. I promise. And everyone's like, no, Maddie, like, MySpace is where it's at. And I was like, Facebook. Okay, I'm telling you. And then, you know, Facebook was crazy. There we go. Yeah. And then did the same thing for Instagram, Snapchat, like all the things. And so I've just had this passion for photos and social media since I was like little. Yeah. And so everyone for like, I don't know, the past 5 years have been like, you should do social media managing. And I'm like, I don't like details. I don't like managing other people. I want to create my own stuff. And luckily, we're in 2022 where people create content now for a living, and it's way normalized now. And so that night, Jessie telling me like, you really capture memory. I was like, guys, okay, I feel like I have this vision that the Lord's given me to create content for weddings, like do day of content for weddings. Like, brides are making TikToks like crazy. They need that person that like knows how to do the transitions and knows how to make the popular stuff. And then also, it's like you get to watch your whole day over again because they give you everything within 24 hours.
Yeah.
You get to like see all of the moments from the day, like the groomsmen and the bridesmaids like hanging out with each other and like being silly and goofy, and then like those special moments that you're having with him, like you're getting all of it and not just like the picture perfect video that you're gonna get at the end, which is totally needed.
Yeah.
So I pitched that to them and they were like, Maddie, this is it.
Yeah.
And I felt like in that moment telling them, because we're all a bunch of entrepreneurs as well.
Okay.
Telling them I knew I had a team on my side.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of my friends are photographers and social media managers. And I was just like, okay, I don't have to do this alone. Like God has set me up to where I don't have to do this alone. And he's finally given me this vision and this avenue, which I think is so special, that he was like, let's do something different than what everyone else is doing. I mean, he's the creator of the universe. Of course, he's going to be creative and do something different.
Yeah.
In a niche that is like not even heard of in this area.
Yeah.
So that was like a year and a half since I had said no to volleyball and yes to God. The love of my life at the time, volleyball was the love of my life. I had committed all of those years to volleyball, and in the, like just thinking about the hours in the gym and the amount of, the thousands upon thousands of times I've hit the ground for a volleyball. And I just was like, okay, I'm going to set aside that for you, Lord.
Yeah. And
that moment, like the next day, I had a bridal shower and I told her, I was like, I'm going to just create all the content for you that day and take all the photos for you, if that's okay, as your gift. And she was like, yes, please. And she's actually like I actually already did her wedding as well. So it has just been a whirlwind of, my life. It's been a lot of just saying, yes, I don't understand, but I trust you. But that moment was probably one of the biggest because it was my identity on the line.
Yes. Yeah.
So
there's so much I want to respond to in what you said, because there's always so many good things. So like back to when you were doing volleyball ministry, I love that because I think you're talking about these small things, decisions that come up throughout the day and going to the Lord with that. Right. And I think that a lot of times people aren't even necessarily limited by like, oh, I don't think God can do that. It's like, does God even care to do that? Like, does God care where I hit the ball or, what I wear, who I talk to? And having that vision of collaborating with God on all of those small things is such a powerful way to think about life. And in your story, that shows up so much in how that time, those things were like running parallel, volleyball and learning to be with the Lord this way. So that when volleyball had to veer off, you had a track that you were used to. Exactly. And I think that that's so much of the value then in really building that intimacy with the Lord, whatever stage you're at, because that is what allows you to transition really between stages. Because, and it's, slightly morbid, but I was thinking about when you're talking about how volleyball had been the love of your life. Yeah. I think about the people that go from being married to not being married anymore. And again, the love of your life is missing. And it's such a like, how could life possibly go on kind of thing. And it doesn't have to be a person, but it easily could be. It could also be a love that we have that's really a good thing. Like it's a beautiful thing to love volleyball and the opportunity you had to teach and mentor, and not to mention like, the way that physical fitness really allows you to build the temple of the Holy Spirit in you the way that it is. But to lay down those good things potentially sometimes when it's time, because God is inviting us into something greater. And I think that it's interesting how you talked about like, thinking, okay, well then probably next thing is a husband. Right. Because that's how you do this. Yeah, like that's the order of things happening. And we so often have that like, oh, well, here's the manual of like, things go this order. And when it doesn't go in that order, it can be almost feel like a betrayal from God. Like, did you have that part of the story where it was like,
Wow.
what's going on here, God?
Yeah. I don't know why. Excuse me. There's this time I went to a Christian college. So every year, welcome week, they do this skit. And it's all these freshman girls like hanging out, dancing. And then these guys will like come past and they'll like propose to one of them. And then they take them away. And so like by senior year, there's like 3 girls left. And you're like, oh yeah, like this is the year, spring by spring. And then like 1 girl is left. And I'm like, I think about growing up in Tulsa, in Oklahoma, in the Bible Belt. Like that's what it could feel like is, oh, I'm just left behind. Like and then your worth, it's like, I'm not enough. And I don't know, am I answering your question?
No, absolutely.
Okay.
I think that is something, because last month we talked about really the lovability and how when we don't have the evidence of like, oh, this is a man that loves me the way that God loves me. And so that's how I know that I am lovable. When we don't have that kind of evidence, the way that the culture really encourages us to seek evidence, it can be so hard to really believe that God loves us the way that he does. And it makes so much sense that that would be a part of the story with timing and with waiting and things like that. Because, and I would be so interested to hear, how did you experience the love of God tangibly throughout that time that kind of sustained you as you were going through so many unknowns?
Like that year and a half that I had unknowns. How did he encourage you? How did you experience his love for you? Or was it really a time of desolation where you didn't experience that? Yeah, that's good. Okay, so that's 2020. He asked me to lay it down. That was nice. I was going to a church at the time, and they were closed. So I was really like, watching online, yada, yada, yada. And so I'm like, oh man, I need to be with people. So I ended up going to a church that had people and worshiping. And that, I don't know, that time, that year of 2020 was a bunch of like figuring out what I actually believe. It was really putting, that's good. It was really putting roots down because I had to leave the church that I had trusted with my life. Like I would do anything for them, but I was like, I have to be with people. And then that was confusing. And then the election came around, and obviously not too political, but I was just like, okay, where do I actually stand? What do I actually believe in? And as a believer, I fully believe like we got to know what we stand for.
Absolutely.
And I remember so many times in my life where I finally was like, oh, what do I believe about baptism? Like, do we have to go? Do we have to be baptized? What do I believe about speaking in tongues? Do people have to have it? Can I have that spiritual gift? Can I have all the gifts? So that year was really like, okay, where do I stand? How do I trust you? And then like little by little, those people coming into my life. And I am a connector. And so like being able to connect my friends from different areas and bring them in was just so rich. And he just like, his love, I think, was through, his love was through community. Like I just saw him show up with someone that's an encourager for me, and then someone that's a challenger for me. And then, I mean, they're the hands and the feet, the ears, the eyes. This community has just woven in love for me and like saw me where I was at and loved me through it. So to me, that's where I saw God show up. Was I had said no to a lot of friendships after 2020. And I had said yes to just kind of, okay, God, wherever you're going to take me, with friendships. But as a people person, I'm like, I'm always going to have people, but who are my core?
Yeah.
And so I think, yeah, that's the biggest part is 2020, the end of 2020. Lots of things happened. I had found out about the stronghold generational curses that were happening in my family's life that year. And I had felt it on my spirit so much, and it was just so heavy. I had found, I had to go to figure out what church I go to. I'd been to so many mega churches in the Tulsa area. And then I'm like, okay, I have to go find one now? Like that. Okay, so what do I believe about church and what's biblical?
Yeah.
So it's just like a whole new avenue of like, all right, what do I believe in? What do I actually care about? Who is Maddie? And so yeah, 2021, I really just like found the Lord through community.
Yeah. Again, there's so many good things in what you're saying. So I want to like touch on all of it, but what it made me think of that Maverick City Music song where it's, and now I won't be able to think of like what the actual name is, but it's what about waiting? Like, and wait on you. That's what it is. And where he says, it's not about the wait, it's about what happens when we wait. And hearing that year of 2020 for you, it's so interesting that like maturing as a Christian looks a lot like becoming a child.
Yeah.
And like how
my favorite part.
much, and how much that is just so countercultural and like, can seem backwards to people that don't have the vision of that type of relationship with God.
Yeah.
And like the woman who, many times throughout the Gospels, when Jesus heals anyone, there's always an action on their part. And so you talked about, making the decision to leave that space because it was no longer an avenue of community for you. That action and that act of faith in stepping out and looking for community is what has then brought you to this community that's brought you so much life. Because hearing your story, I know there's so many people listening that are just like, gosh, I just want that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just hungry to be in community like that. And I just want that so badly. Yeah. But I think a lot of us, and I won't cast aspersions on any of you listeners, but for myself, I know so often I'm just like, God, just deliver that.
Just make it happen.
Just make it happen for me and just have it be signed, sealed, delivered on my front step. When so often it looks a lot more like, how are you going to act on the faith that I want to give this to you? Exactly. Yeah. And that so often is in taking the action and in stepping out, especially seeking a community where it's scary. Yeah. Because I think as adults, I don't know why it's just so like, we're like elementary school all the time where you're just like, who am I going to sit with? Like, who's going to be my friend? And you don't want to be the one a lot of times to step out and take the risk.
Yeah. I think of that illustration with Jesus and the kid. And he has that big teddy bear behind his back. And the little girl's like, I love this teddy bear. Like, are you sure? Yeah. He's like, I promise I'm going to give you something better. And I mean, you see it all through the Bible. Sacrifice is the first step to greater things. I mean, it's going through the muck of it, going through talking out the trauma, talking out your hurt so you can get to the other side. I mean, life is so much sweeter because I've chosen to walk through the hardships. Yeah. With I use this analogy in coaching, like the difference between a bison and a cow. Have you ever heard this?
No, I haven't.
So when a storm comes, cows run away from the storm, and it makes them go through the storm longer. But when a storm comes and there's a herd of bison, they run to the storm, so they run through it, and they run through it together. Cows are kind of stupid, so they like probably are running together. But bison like know that they go through it, and I just like that's funny. The college I went to, we were Bison.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I just like have always had, and probably being an athlete, like they kind of make you face the hard stuff.
Absolutely.
Like you're going to get on the line or you're not on the team. And you're like, okay, well, I'm on the line then.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? So I think I've just had that. I'm going to put myself out there today. Like I'm going to ask that girl at the coffee shop if she wants to hang out. Like I complimented, this happened to me a year ago. I complimented this girl's nails. And I was like, I feel like we really get along. You want to hang out? And she was like, yeah, let's hang out. And then we go to the same church now and like we're friends. So it's just making those, it's so little, guys. It's really like, I want to make it so simple for people. Like it's not as hard as we make it out to be in our brains. It's just those little like, I really love your outfit today. I really like just complimenting people. I really love how you treat people. I really love your smile. Like it's just little things like that go a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think so much of the foundation to be brave, even in little things like that, comes when we do know our identity.
Yeah, that's good.
Because I think so often when we build it up and there's so much fear there is because I'm going to place my identity and who I am on how this interaction goes. And I think that's probably maybe even more in dating, where it's just like, this is going to be the determining factor of my value for the next, 6 months, year, rest of my life, whatever. As opposed to, I'm fine. Like God is giving me everything I need. And so from that place of wholeness, I can go to the person with compliment. And like, if something comes back to me from that, like, praise God. But if not, I'm fine. Yeah. And I'm detached from that, not in a way that makes me not want to do it at all, but in a way where I am okay with the waiting and with it not going well and with whatever comes.
Yeah, exactly. That moment hit for me in college that I realized where my worth was.
Yeah.
Because I was going through college volleyball. I mean, volleyball or collegiate sports in general are rough.
Oh, yeah.
It is your job. It is your life. It is your identity. And my experience in college was, how do I say it? It was just not great as an athlete. I didn't feel like she believed in me. And it didn't feel like she wanted the best for me as my coach. And sought out me, pointing me out in situations. And I just was like in torment. So through the like first 3.5 years of my college volleyball career, I just thought I was worthless. Because I was never going to be enough for her. Yeah. And she is my mom there. Like, she pays my bills. She pays for my food, and she tells me where to go, and I do it. We follow her anywhere. Yeah. And so my Bible study leader at the time, and with alongside of FCA volleyball, I went up to her, and I just continued to feel like the Lord was, you have to stay. And I'm like, that's rude. Yeah. Again, like, I keep meeting these moments where I'm like, that was rude of you, God. Yeah. So I just like was in torment about to go into my spring off season because we run a lot and I'm slow, y'all. I'm slow. Stars are not meant to run quick and like long distances. I'm out, but like short sprints, I'm okay. But off season was just so rough for me because running just I'm not good at. So anyways, I went to my Bible study leader and I was like just weeping in her arms. And she's like, Maddie, are you doing the best that you can do? And I'm like, yeah, like 110%. I'm doing my best. I'm giving all. Sometimes I would come home right after and I couldn't move because I was like so put out. Excuse me. And she's like, well, that's all you can do. Like the best, all you can do is the best you're doing. And I don't know why it was just like this light bulb, like, you're right. like, I'm giving my best. It's enough. And I'm not working for her and working for the Lord. And I don't know why that just like one moment was just like, I do things with the Lord and not for man.
Yeah.
And that summer really put that in place, like nailed that in place, that I am doing things with God and for God. And even if I'm giving 50%, he's still for me and not against me.
Yeah.
And so that shift, I think is where shifted everything else in my life. And it had me go through 3.5 years of anxiety and depression and fear, living in fear, living in insecurity. I mean, that's how I was functioning was.
Yeah.
And a lot of us function like that for like 30 years.
Oh yeah.
However long it takes. But it gets to when you have to make that decision for yourself. Is God enough? Am I enough for God? He told me, he formed me in my mother's womb. He created me on purpose for a purpose. I'm enough. And I think that's when things have shifted for me. And now in my life, I try to function out of faith instead of fear.
Yeah.
Love instead of fear and insecurity. And it's just like, okay, if I go on this date and it doesn't work out, that's fine. Like, it is totally, sometimes I just have to like to say it out loud right before I even go into it. But it has totally been a mind shift since then, 9 years ago.
Yeah,
so
that is so powerful. And it is such a blessing that it came in college, because I think you're right. So many people go through, I went through a lot more of my life with this mindset than that, but I'm so thankful for the shift that's happened for me as well. And I know women twice our age that are in the same place where they're just, and a lot of them are lifelong Christians. And that's the thing that's really like, oh, that just kind of breaks your heart, because you know that this even happens in the relationship with God, where people will view God the way this coach was for you, where they will not that they're getting necessarily input from him that's saying that they're not enough, but they will feel like, what is it that I could ever do that's enough? And they have this kind of employer-employee kind of mentality about God versus father and daughter, which is just, I mean, that's not an insignificant difference there. And having that kind of relationship in terms of, this is something that is set, you know, the adoption is finalized and I have an adopted sibling. And so this is something that we walk through as a family where, yes, I have both biological and adopted siblings and it's the same, you know, like there's no difference between us in the family.
He's bought it, he's paid for you.
Like, exactly. And it's the same where we are looked at like God's own child through this adoption that has happened by Jesus Christ. And we don't have the same orphan, slave, servant mentality that they even had in the Old Testament, where it's just kind of working to make this work.
I would dare say victim mentality.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. I'm not enough. I'm not worthy.
And that's such a like buzz phrase conversation in the Christian world, because a lot of people will come down on either side of the argument, and it can be said both ways. You know, you are enough or you are not enough, depending on where you are with Jesus in the spectrum. You know, like we are not enough apart from Christ, but we are enough in union with Christ. And so that's where it really pays to be clear about what it is that really brings us into this identity. And it's because of the way we relate to him.
His grace, his mercy.
Yep. Absolutely. It's so good. Well, thank you so much, Maddie, for chatting with me today. It was such a joy to have you on.
Fun.
I will link to all of Maddie's social media so you can see the awesome things that she's doing in the show notes. And I hope you guys have an awesome week. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of the Authentic Uprising podcast. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on a podcast app, make sure that you hit subscribe so that you can get all of our updates automatically in your app on YouTube. And we also ask that you leave us a review or a comment. If you're in a podcast app, leave us a review. That helps us get seen by more people. And on YouTube, leave us a comment. Let us know what you loved from the episode and send it on to a friend. I am sure that you know someone who really needs the message in this podcast from today. I also encourage you to check out Pink Salt Riot. That is my company that sponsors this podcast. We have an incredible online shop full of all kinds of beautiful and unique Christian lifestyle goods. You can shop our whole line at pinksaltriot.com. I'll see you next week.